Hello everybody, it's Mobius Y here with another video for Stellaris Console Edition. Today's video I simply pre-recorded and uploaded straight to YouTube, so this is not off of a stream. However, it is still unscripted, so I am hoping to cover all the topics that I intend to with this particular video. I'm largely making this video as a kind of guide on new players and what to do in the beginning stages of the game. I'm not going to be doing anything too crazy. I don't want to do way too much hand-holding, but I'm hoping that this video is informational enough that new players to Stellaris Console Edition, whether you're on Xbox or PS4, do have a decent start and have an idea of what it is they are doing in this game. Because let's face it, Stellaris Console Edition, there is a lot of information thrown at you right away. There's a lot to learn very quickly, and it can be an extremely daunting process. So this particular video here I'm doing without any DLC enabled. It's just the base game, as I am uploading this video and expecting most people to watch it to have simply either just purchased the base game or are trying it off of something like Xbox Game Pass, for example. So the first thing to note before we even get into the game is that a large majority of the navigation in the menus, both here in the main screen before you start a game and when you are in the game itself, is done with the D-pad as opposed to the sticks. The sticks are mostly for controlling the camera and whatnot, so get used to using the D-pad as moving the cursor around for the different settings, even on this main menu, uses the D-pad. One more thing before we get started. I recommend going into your settings and adjusting them as you see fit. For example, if you invert the Y-axis or not, and adjusting your safe area is also extremely important. The safe area will make the HUD a different size on your TV screen. And I've heard this firsthand from people that I know in real life, as well as other people that I've talked to, that their first game for a long time, they couldn't see everything that was happening in the HUD because the safe area was too big. So if you need to resize it, please do so. Also, I recommend going to the sound tab and turning down both the effect and ambient volume very low. Don't turn them to, don't mute them altogether, but put them to very low. Because there are certain sounds in the game, for example, when you are zoomed in very close on things like planets and ships and whatnot, the sound comes through as very loud, and it's extremely difficult to hear things like your advisor alerting you of important things that are happening in the game. Lastly, as I am playing on Xbox, I am going to be referring to buttons for using them for what they do. But the context is the same when you are playing on PS4. For example, the A button is X on PS4, the Y button is triangle, the B button is circle, the X button is square. The left and right triggers on Xbox are R2 and L2 respectively. The left and right bumper on Xbox are R1 and L1 respectively. And then clicking the left or right stick is L3 or R3 on the PS4. So please do keep that in mind, as I'm not going to specify press this button on Xbox or this button on PS4 throughout the whole video. So once you figure you're all good to go, let's just jump right into starting a new game. So for your first game, I highly recommend don't pick Randomize Empire or worry about creating a new empire. As I said, I highly recommend selecting a pre-made empire. In this case, the United Nations of Earth. Now, the list of empires in my Stellaris Console Edition game is very different because I have a lot of custom empires that I've made myself. But when you first go into the Select Empire screen, the United Nations of Earth should be the one at the very top. Right beneath that will be Commonwealth of Man, and then so on and so forth. You can go all the way down to the Blorg Commonalty. So let's just go ahead and pick the United Nations of Earth. Very straightforward, easy empire to play as for your first playthrough. So this is where you can custom tailor your game settings to how you see fit. I recommend doing either a medium 400 or large 600 star galaxy. For your galaxy shape, let's just do a spiral 2-arm galaxy, as this is a pretty basic galaxy shape. AI empires, probably only around 5 or 6, so that we don't get interrupted in the early portions of the game. Advanced AI starts, set that down to 0, and your max fallen empires, just keep it at 1 or 2 at most. And for the sake of ease of use, we're going to turn up the habitable worlds to 3.5. Now, the habitable world slider is a modifier. When the galaxy is procedurally generated every time the game starts, it takes into account this modifier for how many habitable worlds are in the galaxy, and those are what you use to colonize and create new, make new planets to add to your empire. AI aggressiveness, set that to low. Keep the difficulty on normal. Your empire placement, set that to random so that you are not clustered together with other AI empires nearby. Keep advanced neighbors off, and endgame crises, if you want to spend a very long time in the same game without a big galaxy-threatening event showing up at a certain time in the game, keep the endgame crises off. Also, Iron Man mode, to turn this on, that's the only way that, turning on Iron Man mode, is the only way to make the game eligible for achievements. For your first game, you can turn it on if you want, because there are some very easy achievements you'll pick up on your first playthrough. You could also play with Iron Man mode off on your first game as you start to understand the basics, because then you can essentially save scum and go to a previous save file if you feel you made a mistake at some point earlier in the game. Anyways, once you have your settings appropriately to the appropriate settings that you want, simply hit the A button to begin, and it asks, "Are you sure you want to start?" Just hit OK, and it's going to be generating a new game. Now, before we really get into it, I would like to point out that a Stellaris PC YouTuber named Aspec very much has a video not dissimilar to this one, so I'm pretty much just kind of plagiarizing, but as he doesn't necessarily cover Stellaris Console Edition, he's more of a PC Stellaris Console Edition kind of person. I'm hoping that this video reaches the right people as well. So that first screen there, largely just a bunch of flavor text. We can just skip past it. So here in the system view, as it is called, you can use the triggers to zoom in and out with the camera. The right stick obviously changes the camera angle. You can only move the camera so low, however. And then the left stick moves the camera around. Now, as you move the camera around, you want to keep an eye on that cursor in the middle. As it gets close to stellar objects like planets or your spaceports or even the ships you control, it'll glow orange when you can select that particular item. As you can see, we're getting close to our ships, and now there's a little orange arrow pointing to it. You don't have to get the cursor directly on things you want to select. You can just put it close to it, and it will highlight what you select by pressing the A button. So the very first thing that we're going to look at, the D-pad, as I said, is used to navigate the menus, and in this particular view, the D-pad goes to different sections of the HUD, as you can see on the screen. So if you do the D-pad to the bottom, this band here is essentially alerts. These will pop up and disappear as things come up during your playthrough in the game. D-pad up brings up your empire overview and covers essentially how productive your empire is. The most important ones, however, are to the left and to the right. And we'll start with the one on the right. This is your outliner, and it highlights the available units available in your empire. For example, it starts well with your planets, and then your military fleets, your civilian ships, and rally points. The outliner does get filled up as you get more civilian ships, more planets, and more things happening throughout your empire. There is the very bottom outliner option to hide the outliner so that when you're not in it, it does disappear, and then it will reappear when you hit right on the D-pad to bring it back up. Normally, I play with the outliner visible at all times, so I'm just going to leave it up. And then on the left side of the screen, you have different empire tabs. So the very first one is a look at your government. It gives you an overview of what your government is. And it also goes through things like your budget for energy credits and demographics, which is in turn the different kinds of species throughout your empire and the percentage of that species, so on and so forth. The next one down is contacts. This is for contacting alien civilizations once you have encountered them. We're hopefully going to be able to ignore that for this video. Next one down is the situation log. This is essentially your missions or quests, as they're often referred to. And this will fill up more as you spend more time in the game, and it will tell you the requirements to complete them as well as what you could possibly get for completing them. The next one down is one of the most important ones. This is the technology tab. When you open it up, you'll be looking at your current research projects there, and if you hit right bumper, you look at your completed research projects. You can see we have a whole bunch of starting tech that you get at the start of every game. And then you go to the next one, and that is your strategic resources. That'll be something that you learn about later on, hopefully. But the most important one will be this current research screen. This one will be coming back to quite frequently, and you will be as well as you play. The next tab down is cosmography. This looks at the various planets that you have colonized within your empire. And then there's also the sectors tab and the expansion planner for identifying which planets you want to colonize to add to your empire. Not really going to worry too much about this one. Now, next one down, we have the society screen. This is, again, one of the most important ones that we're going to be looking at. When we open it up, the first tab is the traditions tab. These are things that you unlock over time as you accumulate the resource necessary to unlock them. There is also another tab for various empire policies. For example, if you want to allow slavery throughout your empire, you can simply change it so that you are allowed. If you can't do it, then it'll tell you why. But for the most part, we can ignore this for the time being. And then we have empire-wide edicts that we can enact, and these cost a certain amount of a resource over time. But we're largely going to ignore those policies and edicts, and we're going to be looking at the traditions tab for the most part. The next screen down is our people screen, and this is another pretty important one. Not quite as important as the technology and traditions screen, but still very high up there. This is your leaders screen, where you look at what your leaders you have available, what they are doing, and how you recruit new ones. The most important leaders throughout the entire game are your scientists. Scientists are used to man your science ships and research new technologies. So it's very important that you maintain enough scientists to complete all those jobs as you play. The other two tabs, there's the factions and the species tabs. Those hopefully you learn about on your own, or I will cover them in a future video. So that's it for the people screen. And the ship designer, this is where you design ships, not just military ones, but also your civilian ships. We're not going to go over this at all in this video, as it's really not necessary. And then the last three are for wars that you're in, if you're in a federation, and map modes. You can pretty much leave your map modes on default for this in this particular instance. And before we continue, there's two more important things we're going to go over. We're going to go over the items at the top of the screen, which are the different resources you're collecting, but also the timeline, which is in the bottom left of the screen. So you'll see in the bottom left, there is the pause icon that is blinking, and that little banner is orange. That means that, obviously, the game is paused. As you can see, time is not progressing. There's a number down there, and the number is 2200.01.01. That means it is the year 2200, and it's the first day of the first month. As we press the Y button, or triangle, to unpause it, you'll see that the last number, the third number, continues going up. That's the number of days of in-game time. A lot of things are tallied, a lot of things are kept track by the amount of days it will take to complete them, such as constructing a new building or constructing a space station or something like that. And then for every month, the amount of resources you are generating in your empire is tallied and added to your stockpile of resources every month. So it's very important to keep an eye on that. Now, at the top, if you press up, we have a long line of mostly resources shown at the top of the screen, which you can glance at any time. So the very first one, this yellow C with a lightning bolt icon, this is your energy credits. This is used to buy stuff, and you can barter these off with AI empires and whatnot. And the first thing to look at is that we have 100 energy credits stockpiled, and we are generating 4 per month. That's what the +4 means after the number 100. So keep that in mind. If there's a plus and then a number, that means you're generating that much of that particular resource every month. This is true for all of these resources at the top of the screen. Now, next over is the red gem icon. This is minerals. Minerals are used to buy things, namely construct new ships, build stations, and construct buildings on your planets. Next one over, the green apple, is food. You need food to keep your populations, or pops, fed within your empire, and this will keep them happy. Also, food helps pops to grow on your planets within your empire as well. Next over, this little purple kind of icon is influence. Influence is used in a lot of things, but is mostly used to expand and grow your empire. It's often a flat cost. Whenever you, for example, colonize a planet, it will cost a flat amount of influence, but there are some things that you do which will hinder your influence generation per month because they have a maintenance cost. Next over is unity. This is the resource that you accumulate as the game goes on and unlocks those traditions for you that we talked about a little bit earlier. Now, the next three icons are for your different types of research. In Stellaris, there are 3 types of research. There is physics research, as denoted by the blue atom. There is society research, as denoted by the green spherical planet. And then there is engineering research, as denoted by the yellow gear icon. Familiarize yourself with all of these icons here at the top for these resources, as you'll want to become very familiar with them very quickly. The last 3 symbols in the top right, this is your directly controlled colonized systems. I will cover that at another time, probably in another video. After that is strategic resources, and after that is naval capacity. Those 2 things are not important for this particular video. So keep in mind that your research numbers, they only show the plus number, so you only generate so much research points every month. There isn't really a stockpile, and it doesn't really it doesn't accumulate like minerals or energy credits do. So there's a flat amount of science you generate every month. So before we unpause the game, we're going to take a look at our research projects and what the generation of those science points means. So back in the technology screen, looking at our current research, we can see that we have no research projects selected. So what you want to do is, with the D-pad, right now we're in the physics tree, so we're going to select a new physics research project. We have 3 options here. None of them are terribly good. You can see in these 3 cards at the bottom here, they have a name for the project. In this case, we're looking at field modulation. And beneath that, in the smaller lettering, it says what completing it does. So by completing field modulation, our energy storage capacity is increased by plus 2,000, and we unlock a new building, the Power Plant 2. We also have Quantum Theory, which unlocks the Physics Lab 1, and then we have Databank Uplinks, which unlocks the Assist Research feature. These options will very likely not be the same in your own game. Research projects show up at a semi-random kind of interval. There are some prerequisites to getting certain research projects to appear. However, it's not like, say, Civilization, where you can pick a specific linear path of research projects to get to a certain technology. Stellaris randomizes the projects that are available to you once you complete projects and select a new one. So let's go with field modulation. Not the best starting one, but we'll do it anyways. Next, in the society research project, we have orbital hydroponics to unlock an orbital hydroponics farm. We have eco simulation to unlock a hydroponics farm 2, and terrestrial sculpting to unlock the ability to start terraforming. Not terribly great options for our first picks, but let's go with the terraforming one. And then lastly, let's go down and pick our engineering project. We can choose ion thrusters, which unlocks a starship component, nanomechanics, which unlocks another building, and geothermal fracking, which unlocks another building. Again, not very good picks. Let's go with geothermal fracking to unlock the mining network 2. Now that we have selected these projects, you can see that they will require 26 months to complete them. If you're looking at the particular card of the research project as well, you'll see on the top right there is a number there. In this case, field modulation says 0 out of 360. What that means is we have 0 science points put towards the field modulation project, and the cost of completing it is 360. So every month we will accrue the amount of physics science points we're generating. In this case, it's plus 7 at the top of the screen, and that will be applied to completing this science project. And once enough months have passed, in this case 26 months, we will have generated 360 science points and completed this project. That is why certain projects take longer than others. For example, this one requires 600 points, terrestrial sculpting. And geothermal fracking is also another one that requires about 29 months to complete. So with those picked, the other thing to do is go over to our outliner. Let's pick our first fleet, which is the only set of military ships we have. And when we select them, you'll see in the lower left now there's a new screen that appears, and it has different tabs. Right now we're in the command tab, which is what we'd use to move them around or tell them to attack certain targets. Let's hit the right bumper, go over to manage, and move our cursor down to this icon with the yellow dotted line through the middle. We're going to split the fleet, and we're actually going to split it twice. This will separate all three of our little military ships into their own fleets. So now by clicking the right stick, we can zoom out into galaxy view and move our fleets around and have them exploring nearby star systems. So let's select the first fleet and have them fly over to Alpha Centauri first, and then over here to this other system, Runa, second. Let's take the second fleet. We'll have them warp over to Barnard Star and explore this line of star systems next. So you can select a star system far away, and they will have to warp along the hyperlane path to get to that star. So it's not like they're going to skip over a star system. And then the third fleet, let's have them go down this way to this system. And you can actually chain orders. So in this case, we're going to have the first fleet do more than just fly over here. We're going to have them fly around in a bit of a circle. So to chain orders, normally you would use the A button to select and give a single command to a ship or fleet. But you can use the X button or the square button on PS4 in order to chain commands. So in this case, by moving my cursor over this system here, I can press the X button, and that'll chain the first fleet to move over to that system afterwards. Then I can press X button over this system, and over this system as well. So now they're going to kind of fly in a big circular kind of path. And with that in mind, we can also chain it for them to fly back to our home system, the Sol system, once they have completed their scouting. Let's have the third fleet also go up here and then come back. Okay. So click right stick and get back to the Sol system. One more thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our science ship, which is one of the two civilian ships we have, and we need to survey the Sol system. So you can do this by either moving the cursor over any stellar body in the system, press the A button, and you can tell it to survey that particular item individually, in this case the planet Venus, or you can select the survey system option, and you'll see a whole bunch of orange lines appear which will denote the order that your science ship will fly around, surveying all the asteroids and planets and various phenomena within that star system. So we can actually queue up our science ship to survey multiple systems. So once it's done with the Sol system, let's have it fly over here to Alpha Centauri. We press the X button to chain an order, and instead of just telling it to move there, we can choose survey system. So that'll queue up multiple systems for our science ship to fly out and survey. And we need our science ships to be doing this in order to reveal resources that we can use. So let's go ahead and unpause the game here. Now, two more things that I want to show you at the very early portions of the game here is building starships and constructing new buildings on your planet. So I'm going to go to our planet here. We only have Earth, which is a continental world, obviously. So by opening up our planet from the outliner, it takes us to the surface screen. And you'll see that there is a grid-like pattern in the lower left of the surface screen. These are called tiles, and this denotes what is being produced on your planet. So you can see that several of these tiles have a person on them. That is what is called a pop. It's short for population. And pretty much all of those tiles with a person on them also have a building. And these buildings are producing certain resources. For example, this hydroponics farm is producing food, this power plant is producing energy, and this mining network is producing minerals. So we have an empty tile here in the top left, and we're going to build a certain structure on it. So use your D-pad to select the tile in question, press the A button, and then hit the build option that is actually in the middle column. And then it will bring up the list of buildings available for you to construct. We want to construct an autochthon monument. This will cost us 90 minerals up front and will take 172 days to finish this construction project. So we're going to queue that up right now, and you'll see the little faded image of the autochthon monument appeared on that tile. When the building is done, it will be a lot more solid, and we will be able to generate resources off of it once we have a grown pop. A grown pop will be kind of translucent like this one here. You can see the blue bar at the bottom will be filling up every month as this pop grows, and he won't be generating any resources off the tile he's on until it's fully grown. So you can actually move pops around as well by moving your cursor over a tile with a pop on it and press the X button or square, and then move your cursor over the tile you wish to drop the pop on and press that same button. There you go. We've moved our pop onto our new building. When they are fully grown, they will be gathering the resource that that building is producing. So that's how you construct buildings and move pops onto your buildings. Next, let's hit right bumper, go to the spaceport. We want a second science ship. So in your spaceport tab, in the middle column is largely your spaceport modules, which is something that we'll cover another time. You can build certain specific modules in your spaceport to make them produce certain resources, or just build bigger ships or faster ships, so on and so forth. And on the left side, you have your construction options. We can go ahead and select the select the science ship, which will take 60 days to build and cost us 100 minerals. And as you can see, the days to completion is continually going down, and that progress bar is filling up. Now, with our new science ship being constructed in our spaceport, we are going to need another scientist in order to command it. So let's hit D-pad left and go back to the people screen, and this will take us to our list of leaders. We need to recruit a new scientist. So you want to use the D-pad, move your cursor under the scientist column, and select recruit new leader. When you open this up, it gives you a list of available scientists that you can recruit. Scientist recruitment costs influence. So if you have no influence, you won't be able to get new ones. Don't really have any top-notch ones to pick from. Let's just pick this guy because they are the youngest. Okay, so now that we have that new science ship, we have established communications with an alien civilization already. Very interesting. We'll get to that in a second here. So now that we have another science ship constructed, we can go right on the D-pad and go to our outliner, and you'll see that we have a new science ship, the UNS Newton. It is not doing anything, so let's select this science ship with the A button, use right bumper to go over to the Manage tab, and choose the icon that is Recruit Leader. It's got the big orange plus in the bottom right of its square. Hit that button, and it will go back to the list of available scientists that you have already recruited within your empire. So we're going to choose the one that has the green available text on it, because that means she's not doing anything. She's completely available to be put to whatever task we choose. So now that we have another science ship, we can send her off into the void to survey some more systems. So we sent our one science ship up in this direction. Let's send this science ship to Barnard Star first, have her survey that system, and then send her down to Sirius and survey that system. Now, the reason why I want them surveying Alpha Centauri and Sirius before anything else, or well, before most anything else, is because you'll see that next to the star system name, there is a green kind of planet-looking icon. That means that there is a habitable world in that star system. If we move our cursor over it, it tells us what kind of planet it is and how big it is. So in this case, this is Sirius 3. It is a continental world that has 21 tiles. So if you recall, Earth is a 16-tile world because we only have these 16 tiles available here on our surface, with which we can grow pops and construct buildings, so on and so forth. So we have a 21-tile world available in the Sirius system. So it's a bigger planet than our home world is, and we want to colonize that as soon as possible. Okay, so now that we have encountered another alien civilization, when you zoom out in the galaxy view, you'll see their borders as well. They're almost always a different color than yours. And, you know, you'll see their icon and their name and whatnot. So now that we've encountered an alien civilization, if we go to the contact screen, when we go to the contact screen, you'll see that we can select that particular alien empire and press the A button to communicate with them. Communicating with them in general doesn't really accomplish anything, but this is the screen where you would do things like trade with them, declare war on them, so on and so forth. But for the sake of this video, we'll just form a non-aggression pact. Hopefully they leave us alone. Okay, so back in our home system, we have had some hostile ships show up. We have 3 hostile ships in orbit around Venus. So what we need to do is deal with them. We need to select all of our military fleets by highlighting them. And you can multi-select ships with the X button as opposed to with the A button. So we've just multi-selected all of them. We're going to have all of them kind of meet up in Alpha Centauri so that they don't engage the hostiles without grouping together. So let's move them away first. We're obviously going to need more ships to deal with them as well, so let's go back to our spaceport and queue up a couple more corvettes. These are the starting military ships that you get available to you. They will take 60 days to complete a single one, and each one costs 63 minerals. So let's build 2 more. Okay, so now at the bottom of the screen, there's quite a bit going on. Our non-aggression pact has been agreed upon. There's a hostile fleet present within our borders, and this one that has just shown up, traditions available. This means we have generated enough unity at the top of the screen there. As you can see in this tab, we've generated enough unity to adopt a tradition. So let's go ahead and go to the traditions tree. So as I said, there's 7 traditions to pick from. Expansion deals more with expanding your borders, colonizing new worlds, and building these things called frontier outposts. Domination is more about when you have empires under your thumb as your vassals. Supremacy is more if you're a more militaristic kind of empire and you want to go to war frequently. Supremacy is the traditions for you. Harmony is more about inwards perfection and striving to improve your empire from within. Prosperity largely improves some of the production and reduces the cost of certain buildings and whatnot within your empire. Diplomacy is for bettering your interactions with other empires and allows you to do things like form federations. And discovery is for when you want to improve the rate at which you complete your research projects. So for your first tradition, it's largely up to you. I would highly recommend either discovery or expansion. In this instance, we're going to go with the prosperity tradition tree because adopting the prosperity tree reduces the cost of mining stations, which are an orbital station you build in space. It reduces the cost by 33%. So we're going to go ahead and adopt this. Each tradition has 5 stages. The first stage is the tradition tree has to be adopted, and then there are 5 specific traditions in that tradition tree that can be chosen, and each of those 5 things gives you a different kind of bonus. So now that we've adopted prosperity, we've reduced the cost of our mining stations, and that'll be the next thing to show you is how to build orbital stations, mining stations, research stations, and the like. So what we're going to do is we're going to situation log updated. We're going to select all of our military fleets, which are together in Alpha Centauri. So highlight them all with the X button, press A when they're all selected, then go over to the Manage tab again, and highlight this merge icon. It's with the 2 ships overlapping each other. We're going to merge them back into a single fleet. They are now going to group back together and form a single fleet. So now that our first fleet is all together again, we're going to fly them back into the Sol system and have them engage these hostiles. While we're at it, just in case, we're going to build 1 more corvette in our spaceport, just in case the amount we have isn't enough. System survey complete. So we can't really do much in our home system, namely build mining stations and whatnot, until these hostiles are dealt with. So by selecting our military fleet, you just move the cursor over the hostiles you want them to attack and press the A button. And they will attack them. This is what an early game space battle will look like. Just a small group of ships engaging each other. In this case, our starting weapons were missiles, so we're just blasting each other with a whole bunch of missiles.
Situation log updated.
Okay, we'll just get rid of that screen now that we've dealt with that. So let's get our fleet. Go back to the Manage tab, and we'll choose the Repair Fleet option. This will order them to fly to the nearest spaceport, and get themselves repaired. Now, because of those hostiles, our science ships are kind of chilling, and not really doing anything anymore. They have completed their survey projects, so let's send them back out into other parts of the galaxy, surveying new star systems. Okay, so as you can see, we completed surveying the Sol system earlier, and you can see some of the planets have a little resource icon underneath them with a number. That means that by building an orbital station around that stellar body, in this case Venus, it will generate a certain amount of resources for us every month. So let's take our construction ship by selecting it in the outliner, and then with the construction ship selected, we move it over Venus, press the A button, and we tell it to build a mining station. Now it's going to fly over here and build that mining station, and when the mining station is done, if you look at the top of the screen under our minerals section, we're generating 8 minerals every month. Once this mining station is complete, we will be generating 11. That is essentially how that works. The same thing can be for when we build another mining station around Uranus. We will be able to generate an additional 4 energy credits per month. So let's go ahead and queue that order as well. Just like with the science ship, select the construction ship, move the cursor over the planet in particular that you want to build a station around, press the X button, and select the mining station, build mining station option. So once it's done the mining station around Venus, it will immediately fly over and build a mining station around Uranus. Okay, so this is our first research project that we've completed. We just finished field modulation, and now it's going to give us more options. So the hostile fleet that we just destroyed, we actually researched the debris from it and have essentially reverse engineered red lasers. So we can finish that technology project by selecting that right now and getting that technology available to us indefinitely. However, for now, let's go with orbital energy conversion, which will allow us to build a solar panel network on our spaceport and generate some more energy. Okay, so as you can see, now that we have a station around Venus, this is what our orbital stations will look like. And now that it is extracting those minerals from around Venus, the number has changed from a white 3 to a green +3. This means that you are, in fact, generating resources off of that stellar body. Okay, so we have another research project completed. If we go to the alerts at the bottom and we choose this little blinking flash thing with the check mark, it'll show us that we have completed geothermal fracking, and we can now build a mining network 2 on our planets. Let's see, let's go with the improved spaceport for the next one, so that we can upgrade our spaceports. So now, since we've finished a couple research projects, if we go back to our home planet of Earth, we can see that some of our buildings now have a nice yellow triangle in the top right of their tile. If you ever see this on a building on your planets, it means that that building has an upgrade available and you can actually afford that upgrade. So let's upgrade this power plant let's move our cursor over this power plant in the bottom left, press A to select it, and then when we pick the upgrade option, we can see that we upgrade it to a power plant 2, which will cost 81 minerals and take 172 days. So let's queue that up, and then we'll do this other power plant as well. Move our cursor over it, select upgrade, upgrade to a power plant 2. Now you'll see that a big white number 1 has appeared in the center of that tile. That means that that construction project has been queued. As soon as this first power plant has completed upgrading, this second one will begin its upgrade process. You can only have one construction project happening on your planet at a time. And this includes doing things like clearing tile blockers. Tile blockers are these things you see here on your homeworld with the big yellow and black outline. And to clear them, you have to have the appropriate amount of energy credits and minerals stored up. You select that particular tile blocker, press the A button, and then press the A button again to clear it. Now you'll see that it has a yellow number 2. It'll be the second construction project after this power plant has finished upgrading. By clearing these tile blockers, it allows you to construct additional buildings on them and grow more pops on them as well, just furthering your resource generation within your empire. Okay, so we have another tradition available. We're just going to go ahead and pick this one, standard construction templates. This reduces the cost of building ships and buildings by 15%. And in doing so, we should be able to build yet another mining network. We need to improve our minerals production, so that there are 2 things to look for. First, you want to try and find a tile that doesn't have a building on it that produces minerals. This one here, with our currently growing pop, produces 2 minerals and 1 food. So by selecting it, we can build a brand new mining network on it. Now, by constructing a mining network on it, which produces minerals, it will actually get rid of the food that is being produced on this tile as well. So keep that in mind as you construct buildings. You can only have one, depending on the building, you can mostly only have one particular type of resource being generated on that tile at any given time. The other way to improve our minerals production is to look in the system view for any other planets in other star systems that are producing minerals. So we can see here in Barnard's star that there are 2 minerals and 2 energy credits available if we build mining stations around them. But we're looking strictly for additional minerals, and we're going to keep looking. And in the Sirius system, you can see that there is something that is producing 3 minerals. So let's take our construction ship and order it to construct a mining station around Sirius 1. This will improve our minerals being generated every month, allowing us to build more things at a faster rate. Okay, so we have another science ship sitting around doing nothing. Let's send them off into the wild black yonder. Survey that system, and that system, and that system, please. I'm not worrying too much about this system here, because even though this star system has a couple habitable worlds within it, this star system is in the borders of this AI empire right next to us. So even if we wanted to colonize one of the planets in this star system, we wouldn't be able to, because you can only colonize planets that are within your own borders or are not within anybody's borders. So the game wouldn't allow us to do that anyways. Alright, at this stage in the game, we're just going to wait for the minerals to be generated that allow us to either construct a new colony ship and colonize our first planet, or build a frontier outpost to extend our borders. Either one of those would be very useful at this point. We're going to build another mining station around Barnard Star 3 to improve our mineral generation, and then once we have 60 minerals stored again, we're going to build another mining station around Barnard Star 1 so that we get this +2 energy credits. So taking a look at our Earth screen yet again, most of the construction projects are completed. We're building the last mining network now, and in a few months this pop will be fully grown and be making full use of that new mining network, which is quite fantastic. And as you can see, with our construction ship finishing these mining stations, you can see that our mineral production has been increasing. It's up to +14 now. We want to try and keep increasing that as much as possible throughout the game. Have a world survey, let's go with that. Okay, so let's... while we wait for our minerals to build up, let's talk about anomalies. You've probably noticed that there have been screens popping up with the announcer saying anomaly found, and I've been largely ignoring those and just and either researching them or ignoring them. Anomalies in the game are just another bonus way to either get resources or discover planets that produce resources, allowing you to build a station around them. So in this case, what planet? I can't even read that. Havon Cheer 3, I believe it is. It has a strange icon underneath it. That is actually an anomaly icon. And if we press... Oops. Let's leave that. Okay, so This screen pops up whenever your scientists discover a new anomaly. In the very bottom, you can see that it has a 40% failure risk. You can go ahead and research this anyways, but as it says, there is a 40% chance of failing it and either getting nothing from it, or even something very bad could happen, like your science ship explodes and your scientist dies along with it. The failure risk is determined by the anomaly level. The anomaly level in this particular case, it is a level 3 anomaly. So in order for us to research this, ideally we want a scientist that is level 3 or higher. All of our leaders gain XP from the moment they are recruited, and scientists will level up and gain XP from surveying planets, surveying systems, so on and so forth. So as time goes on and our scientists level up, we should be able to come back to this. So if you wanted to, you select the research option. In this case, we're going to leave it be for now. And in this case, you can see that Havon Share 3 still has an anomaly available to be researched as well that we haven't picked yet. And we're just going to leave it alone for the time being because, again, it has a 40% failure rate. So we can pick a new tradition yet again. Let's go to the prosperity tree, and we are going to pick administrative operations to reduce building upkeep by 10%. And upkeep is something that is used to maintain your buildings and your ships. Everything in the game requires a certain amount of maintenance in order to keep it operational. Buildings require an amount of energy credits, well, most buildings anyways. For example, this hydroponics farm has 0.9 energy credits of maintenance. That means that 0.9 of our energy credits that we're generating every month is actually going to the maintenance of this building. The same goes for our ships. Our construction ship has a maintenance cost of 1 energy credit per month. Certain things like our military fleets require minerals every month as well to be maintained. So by reducing the cost of upkeep, that actually does help our overall production values. Alright, now that we have 200 minerals saved up, what we're going to do is we're going to extend our borders with something called a frontier outpost. And this is a special kind of space station that extends our borders. It costs quite a fair amount of minerals to construct. It costs 200 minerals, but it also requires a certain amount of influence. So if we built a frontier outpost here in the Enmust system, I hope I'm reading that correctly, Enust system, you can see that the cost of it is 200 minerals and 35 influence. The base cost of constructing a frontier outpost is only 30 influence, but the further away from your borders you are constructing a frontier outpost, the higher the cost in influence. So let's queue up this frontier outpost in the Enust system because there are 8 minerals there available for us to build orbital stations on. Okay, so back on our Earth planet, we have a few buildings that are available at being upgraded, but we don't want to spend the minerals on them yet. Okay, so we've completed a research project for terraforming. That is something you will learn later on as you play the game more. So we have a couple odd options. Biodiversity studies to unlock a biolab. We don't really need that. Doctrine space combat to increase our naval capacity. That doesn't matter either. This one's a good pick. Genome mapping to increase the growth speed of our pops by plus 10%. By default, pops grow by 1 point per month, but by increasing growth speed and having extra food produced, they will grow faster. As you can see, by moving our cursor over the growth portion, you can see in the very top right, growing pop, growth progress 2.1 out of 54.6, and it grows by 1.06 per month. So increasing that by 10% will help our pops grow on our tiles faster, allowing us to get them pooling resources for us off of buildings and whatnot. Okay, so the next step, once that frontier outpost is completed, we'll want to build a few more mining stations. I think probably this one here in Sirius A to get those energy credits, and then one more over here in Barnard Star to get those energy credits as well. And then we're going to want to construct a colony ship. Okay, a new research project. Orbital energy conversion, allowing us to build a solar panel network. Okay, so we have several options here. Let's go with administrative AI to increase our research speed by 5%. Okay, so now that we have completed a spaceport module, if you go back to the planet tab and you go to the spaceport screen, You can see that in the spaceport modules section, if there is an empty module where you can build something, you move your cursor over that particular square, press the A button, and it will give you a list of the modules available. In this case, we only have the technology for a solar panel network, so that's all that is available to us. I'm just going to leave that alone for now because we don't really want to use the resources on that just yet. So let's take a look at our construction ship. You can investigate the progress of certain planets and ships as to what they are doing by simply looking in the outliner. So by highlighting our construction ship, you can see the green progress bar, a little over half done, and it actually says that it is building the Enost Frontier Outpost, and it's 64% complete. So about 2/3 done. We also have our 2 science ships that are kind of just sitting around doing nothing, so let's get them surveying some more. Now, at any point in the game, when you have selected, say, a planet or a military fleet or a ship that you control, you can press the left stick to look right at it. So if you're in the galaxy view, it will snap the cursor over to that particular star system. And if you're looking in a star system, we could be looking in a completely different star system, as a matter of fact. It will still bring the camera to that very star system and have us looking at the object in question. It's a handy way to quickly move the camera to things that you want in order to get the lay of the land, see what's happening around them. Okay, so in just a moment you're going to see our borders extend, and our borders are denoted by this big blue blob here around our home system, and that big blue blob just got bigger. So that's what happens when you construct a frontier outpost. It generates a bigger blue blob around you. That is how you extend your borders. Frontier outposts are one way to extend your borders. Another way to extend your borders is by colonizing a new planet, and we have enough minerals to colonize a new planet. There are 2 ways to get around colonizing a planet. The first thing to do is by selecting your spaceport and queuing up the construction of a colony ship. So this will take 360 days to construct, so a full year, and costs us 298 minerals. So a lot of minerals go into building up a colony ship. Once the colony ship is, excuse me, I'm getting the hiccups all of a sudden. Once the colony ship has finished construction, we can then select that particular colony ship and order it to a specific planet that we want it to colonize. This method is kind of the basic tried and true method that you can expect to be able to do in just about any game, where you construct the unit you want to command, and then you select the unit you want to command and give it a specific command. However, in Stellaris Console Edition, there is a much more streamlined way of doing it. A lot of new players have difficulty finding the planet they want to colonize because they forget what it was named, they forget what star system it was in, so on and so forth. So the easiest way to do it is by simply moving your camera and selecting the planet in question that you want to colonize, in this case Sirius 3. And by selecting that planet, you'll see that we can still look at the surface of the planet, we just can't do anything on it because it's not one of our colonies. Now if you hit left bumper, you go to a different tab, and this is the planet tab. It gives you general information. This one in the bottom right is the planet size with this golden globe icon, and it is a size 21 planet. It tells you the habitability of the planet. You can only colonize planets with at least 40% habitability, and that is determined by their planet type. And there's a nice little option here called Colonize. It tells you the expansion influence cost. In this case, it will cost another 30 influence to colonize this world. So by moving your cursor over here and pressing the A button, it will then bring up this screen, which either lists all the spaceports in your empire or any built colony ships that you have in your empire. So if we select colonizing from Earth, what this will do is it will queue a colony ship to be constructed in Earth's spaceport, and then as soon as that colony ship is done, it will immediately fly over to this world of Sirius 3 and begin colonizing it. So let's select colonizing from Earth, and now we choose where the capital building goes. The capital building placement, don't worry too much about where it is being dropped. Just pick a tile that looks available to you, and then once you select the tile you want the capital building to go, you can then name your colony. So since we're colonizing Sirius, we're going to call this Sirius. Welcome to the Sirius colony. And when we unpause the game, we'll see that if we go to the spaceport on Earth, it has begun construction of that colony ship. And as I said, as soon as it's done, it will fly over to Sirius 3 and begin colonizing it for us. Now, before that happens, though, if you recall, I mentioned something about upkeep. Colony ships do require a significant amount of upkeep, more so than any other ships we have in our empire right now. They cost 8 energy per month. As you can see, we're only producing 1 energy every month, so we want to rectify that. We'll take our construction ship, and by staying in galaxy view, we can move the cursor over a particular star system and tell it to build all the available mining stations in that particular system. So in this case, we're going to chain to build a mining station in the Sirius system. So move the cursor over the star, press X, and then build mining stations. Now, if there were more mining stations available, the cost in minerals would be higher, and it would queue more orders. So let's move the cursor over to Barnard Star, do the same thing, press the X button, and go build mining stations. So now our construction ship will happily go around building mining stations in these various star systems to help improve our energy production. Now, if you look in the bottom left, you'll see that we're in the 6th month, almost the 7th month of the 9th year of in-game time. I'm actually going to be pretty much ending this video around the 10-year mark once this colony ship has finished construction and begins colonizing Sirius 3. As I do feel like I have covered all the basics that will be necessary for any new player to Stellaris Console Edition to begin playing their own game. I feel that the most important thing that you could do in Stellaris Console Edition is just try things out for yourself. See what you like and also see what works. The biggest things to keep track of are the production of your basic resources, your energy, your minerals, your food, maintain your influence, and keep producing unity. You largely want to see all of these numbers increasing as the game continues. So you'll be producing more energy credits as time goes on. You'll be producing more minerals. Food you can keep at a very low production level, but so long as it's at least +1 or +2, you do need to be generating more food the more populations you have, the more planets you colonize. Influence, this is a very tough one that new players have trouble keeping track of, and it's because a lot of the times people build too many frontier outposts too quickly. Frontier outposts have a maintenance cost of not just energy every month, but they cost 1 influence every month to maintain as well. So don't go rushing out building frontier outposts everywhere you can right away, because you'll find that you're losing influence, and you will essentially run out of influence very quickly, and have a lot of difficulty progressing in the game. Let's just pick another tradition for the heck of it. See, as soon as the colony ship was finished, you can see it in the outliner now. We have it picked, and if we have it selected in the outliner, its maintenance is 7.2 energy. So normally it's a base amount of 8, and you can see that in the bottom in the alert screen we have a negative balance of energy credits. Now we're only losing 2 energy credits per month, so that's okay. It's actually just under 3, but we have over 500 stockpiled, so that's okay. We will no longer require those energy credits being used per month to maintain this colony ship once it has finished colonizing the Sirius 3 planet, or what will eventually be the Sirius colony. So yeah, it's okay to go a little bit in the negative for short amounts of time on energy credits, and if you find yourself going in the negative on minerals or food or heaven forbid influence, find out what is costing so much and rectify that immediately. Largely, you can just build more mining networks or power plants or hydroponics farms, so on and so forth, to get out of the negative in those instances. Yeah, I think that'll pretty much sum it up. Like I said, I'm pretty much kind of taking a page out of A-Spec's book with this particular video here. Bit of plagiarizing going on there. And there it is, the first human colony. Our colony ship has gently touched down at the mouth of a large river delta on one of the several continents that can be found on Sirius. This temperate forested region will serve as an ideal first landing site. So that is our first colony under development. Now we can go back to the Sirius system and we look at our new colony. you'll see that when you open the planet tab, it says it is being colonized. It costs 8 energy credits each month to maintain and will take 24 months, and the completion date will be the year 2212 of the first day of the 6 months. And once that colony is complete, you can then construct buildings on it, you can build a spaceport on it to construct new ships, so on and so forth. So that'll sum it up for this video. It's been a good hour long. Hopefully this gives new console edition players a leg up and a basic understanding of what they want to do throughout the game. Of course, if you would like to see more videos, you can check out my Stellaris console Let's Play playlist, and there is also my Stellaris console Stellaris console tips and strategies playlist as well. You can check those out at any time, and you should see them in other parts of my channel. This has been Mobius Y playing Stellaris Console Edition. Thank you very much for watching. For more Stellaris Console Edition content, feel free to subscribe to my channel, dingle my dongle to be alerted of when I put up new videos. Also, check out the links in the description below. You'll have my Twitch channel, which I often stream Stellaris Console from. I tend to stream it every Tuesday. That's become my unofficial Stellaris Console Edition night, but I try to stream Stellaris at least once a week. You'll also find my Twitter feed, which is a great way to keep in touch with me, and I also post pertinent announcements. For example, if I have to postpone or cancel a stream. And you'll also find a link to the Discord channel. There are only 40 people in there, but it's my little corner of the internet. A pretty quiet place, but you can jump in and discuss with other Stellaris Console Edition players. You can ask questions, bounce ideas off of each other, even set up multiplayer games if you would like to play with other people who have this game. We have both Xbox and PS4 players, so don't be shy. Come on into the channel. Hope you found this video mildly entertaining and very informational. I hope to see you again very soon. This is Mobius Y saying have a great evening.